let's get into this. Let us start the tier lists for Lords of the Fallen 2023. This is the recent version of Lords of the Fallen that came out. Recent being like 9 months ago. I just played it recently. That's why we're doing this, because I just recently played it. I'm not going to try to figure out what order I played these in, because to be quite honest, it's gonna be a hard time to remember half these bosses because, well, we'll get to it when we get to them. How about that? I'm gonna use the same criteria as I did with Shadow of the Erdtree and what I will do going forward with all these tier lists, at least with these Souls-like games. All right, let's get into this. Gentle Gevaris, Mistress of Hounds. She is one of the Sinner bosses. The bosses were broken down to Sinners and something else. I can't remember what the classifications were, but Sinners were like a little bit lesser tier. Like there was like the higher tier boss, like the harder bosses or whatever, the monstrous bosses, and then you have like these Sinners, which are like people, I guess. And they also pop up as a just a general enemy around the game after you fight them. So kind of shitty, but you know, it's what it is. General Gevaris, or Gentle Gevaris, Mistress of Hounds, not General Grievous. She was meh. It's kind of like a Mimi ad fight in a sense where you fight her. She's got a bow. She does like holy damage with her bow. She has bleed damage with her melee attacks, but she also has like up to 3 dogs that she can summon. The dogs have armor on them, so you have to hit them twice to kill them, unless you hit them in their butts. But good luck doing that because they're swarming your ass. She'll go down like a sack of bricks. I mean, she gets staggered very easy, and you can interrupt a lot of her attacks. But the dogs just keep coming, and it's just kind of an annoying fight in that sense. So she's just gonna be meh. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Holy Bulwark Otto. I believe this is the first guy that you come across in the game. Let me just look. Yeah, Holy Bulwark Otto is literally the first guy you fight. I will not remember him, and or he's bad. He's like your tutorial boss. He's the one who teaches you how to dodge and parry, and there's like so many enemies like him throughout the game. I will remember him, but not as a boss, I should say. Pieta, she of Blessed Renewal. This is like the first actual boss you fight in this game, Miss Pieta. She's a really cool paladin type knight that you fight in the game. She eventually becomes the person that you just kind of give your stuff to upgrade your healing item. She gets reborn, I guess. I don't. The lore is very lost on me. It's very religious. It's just like a very religious type of a game in a sense where like everyone's got their religions they believe in and the things that they're doing for their gods, and it missed its mark on me, but that's besides the point. But the boss itself was fun and good design. She had very readable attacks, nothing too crazy, but she also had a paladin attack where she would like send out a copy of herself to attack, and then she would follow with the exact same attack. She would have like these breaks in the fight where she would go and fly off to the end of the arena, and then she would have like send out 2 of her like clones or whatever, or her light clones, and they would fill up like it would break the arena into thirds, and 2 of those spots would be filled up with like swords of light or whatever. That would be like if you walked into them you take damage, if you got hit by them obviously you take damage. Like it would bring the area down of the fight to like a smaller, like very long area. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, she was just a fun and well-designed fight. She was the first real boss, like I said. She was a boss that I had to make adjustments on, going from Shadow of the Erdtree to this. Shadow of the Erdtree, super fast-paced, super in-your-face. This, 1 or 2, maybe 3 attacks, and then you are able to just swing. You don't have to be super dodgy. You don't have to be swinging the dodge button to get out of these attacks. It's very slow and methodic with this game, and I liked it. It took an adjustment, but overall, I did like it. Scourged Sister Delith. I don't remember this boss. Did I fight this boss? Oh, it's Pyramid Head Lady. I did fight her. She was all right. She was just okay. In this game, they have it to where you can parry with any weapon. I didn't do any sort of testing on this, but from what I can tell from like, because when I started the game, I was using like dual wielding like lighter swords and some daggers or whatever. I moved on to like a spear, and then I moved eventually to heavy weapons, which is what my preferred playstyle with this game. But I just didn't have any weapons I could play with like a heavy playstyle until after this boss for sure. I think I killed her with the spear, but I was trying to parry her. I was trying to parry her attacks, and I think I was just using at that point, like I was pretty successful with it, but I found more success with the spear because I had more damage with it. Just in general for all these bosses, I would probably go into them a lot of the time trying to parry and then realizing I'm using a big 2-handed weapon. I can't parry with it, so I need to dodge. And the dodging in this game is super, super generous. It's 1-tap dodge for like a dash around the enemy, and it's a 2-tap dodge to like roll away from the enemy, and it's just super generous with the diaphragms and all that stuff. All these bosses aren't actually hard. I made them harder on me than they should have been overall. So difficulty wise, they're not, I didn't find anyone in a real sense being overly difficult, to be honest. Skirt Sister Dela, she looked like a female Pyramid Head, which, you know, more power to her. She had this cool little like attack that she would send. It was like a ball of blood with like wrapped in like holy thorns. I thought that looked really sick, and whenever it hit an area, it would have like the whole area covered in blood and those holy thorns like covered in the ground. I thought it looked really cool. Her attacks were pretty predictable, but most attacks in this game were, but the animations looked good. So, you know, she's just okay, I would say, because she didn't have ads. If she had ads, she'd be down with meh, with Gentle Givaris for sure, or even down to bed. Light Reaper. Light Reaper, you fight 4 different times in this game. Apparently, you have the ability to kill him any of those times if you are good at the game. It's really and truly what it is. If you're good at the game, you have a chance to kill him at any point in time. He's the one that keeps coming back. He really wants your lamp, which is like a key feature of the game. I thought he was fun. I thought he was good. He's got a cool set of weapons you can get from him. He gets like 2 long swords and 2 short swords you could get with his remembrance, which is pretty cool. Some different spells. He's very quick. He's very fast with his attacks. He's annoying though. The reason why I'm not putting him in epic is like he has like this dragon thing that he rides in on, which is fine, fucking cool. And you have to dodge the dragon's like flame breath, and then it dashing down at you a few times before he comes off of it. But he gets on that mount way too many times throughout the fight, and it just like slows the whole flow of the fight down. If it was just him like coming in on the mount, and then you were just fighting him mano a mano, and like maybe if you were fighting him and the dragon at the same time, in some way it would have been a lot cooler fight. But it would just be fighting him, he'd hop up on his dragon, do his thing, come down, fight him, go up on his dragon, do his thing until you got him down to a certain amount of health, and then the dragon would fly in every so often doing a fire breath while you're self fighting him. But that was pretty much it. So was a fun, good design. The attacks were very well animated, very well telegraphed, very cool looking. It's just the pace was slowed down by him getting on his dragon a little bit too much. Congregator of Flesh. This is like, you get to a point where you like fall into a pit in the game, and you come across this guy like shortly after. I think it's shortly after fighting Gentle Givaris. He's just like this blob of ick. He's just a blob of ick. He's just got, you know, body parts and stuff going everywhere and everything of the sorts, and he's just like this big old hitbox. And his I don't want to put it. Hitting him wasn't hard, but like dodging his attacks was super weird. Because like they would hit you even though you were dodging, and like none of like his body would connect with you, you'd still get hit, and it was just kind of weird and annoying, and I wasn't a fan of it overall. He goes down like a sack of potatoes once you like find his weak spot, which is, I didn't realize that there was different parts of the body you could hit until this boss. He went down like a sack of potatoes. He was just meh. Kinranger, Guardian Fullard. All right, this is like the Frost Knight dude, and you fight so many of these guys. I'm just gonna put him at will not be remembered or bad. Like he had like a frost dog with him. Something special about him. He does like a frost stomp attack that's super easy to dodge. You can easily stagger him. He's just bad. It's just a bad. He's just reused as a basic enemy like 50 feet down the path as well. So it's just like, I don't know. Didn't really like it. Mendacious Visage. Okay, I'm gonna put him at just okay. Mendacious Visage. A lot of these bosses follow the same pattern of they were used as a boss, and then they were used as just basic enemies throughout the rest of the game. It's like a nerfed down version from the boss fight, but either way, you see one, you see them all. But Mendacious Visage, you can only see these when you're in the Umbral realm, so you don't see them as often. So they weren't as annoying, whereas like Holy Bulwark Auto and like his model and attacks, this Kinranger, Guardian Fullard and his attacks, you see them so much throughout the whole game. It's just, it sucks. It sucks. But Mendacious Visage, I like it. It's a cool little boss that you have to fight in the Umbral, so you only have one attempt at it before you're dead. But to really like do some damage to it, you either have to hit them from behind, or if you use your soul flay, you can rip that face open and see like a little person inside and start beating on them. And they really go down pretty quick once you figure that out. They don't do a lot of actual damage to you. They do a lot of wither damage. So like if you're just keeping the pressure up and attacking that like inside the face there, you'll get a lot of your health back. The hardest part about this fight is those little ghost worms that they send out, and if those hit you and explode, then that will do damage to you, and then you'll probably die. So that's the hardest part about the fight. The guys are pretty easy in general, but I thought there wasn't that many throughout. I think I fought like maybe 4 or 5 total throughout the whole game. So the Hushed Saint, this was another kind of bigger boss in the game. I struggled on this guy only because I was trying to parry his ass. As soon as I started dodging, he was done. With this guy and a lot of other bosses I noticed in this game, they were kind of beefy for the sake of being beefy. Like they had just a ton of health for the sake of having a ton of health. And this guy as well, same with the Light Reaper. He had a horse that he would hop on every so often, and he would hop on and it would just ruin the flow state of the fight. Now there were like little, I can't remember what they're called, but like they're little seeds that you could pop with your lamp. And if he's riding on his horse and he goes by one of those and you pop it, it does stagger damage to him and it knocks him off his horse, which was pretty cool. The horse was moving kind of fast. It's moving right at you. That's frustrating. And then like just using your lamp inside a boss fight is super clunky as well. And I didn't like it. It was just an okay fight for me. Not because I took like 15 deaths to it, because I was trying to parry him, but more so like the flow state of the fight was just rough with him always getting on his horse or having to go into you could wait it out. He does like, you know, he dashes by you, he throws a spear at you, he dashes by you, he throws a spear at you, and then he'll get off his horse or whatever. You could wait it out or you could try to do that, but it ruined the flow of the fight. It was too, I don't know, I might be spoiled by Shadow of the Erdtree. If I played this before then, I might feel different. Crimson Rector Percival, I do remember this, so I'm not gonna say I won't remember it, because I do remember this fight because I got I think a really sick sword right after it. I don't think the sword I used for most of the game, but I got a really sick sword after it, so that's why I remember him. But you do see him, or versions of him throughout the game as well. But this one was like, the run back was kind of a pain, so I remember that, and I got a cool sword afterwards, but he's just meh. Easy telegraphable attacks. He has like a normal state. He has like the state where he's juiced up by holy power. And then he has even further, he can go even further beyond where he has like a holy aura around him that heals him. And it's just any boss that has like a ton of health that can then heal. Annoying. The Ruiner, just okay. You do see them a lot, especially going like towards the end of the game. You do fight a bunch of them, but I like their design overall. They're a big beefy guy with a shield and an axe. They like to swing the axe, but they got some fire magic to him too. He can summon a pillar that powers him up so that he hits you extra hard. I don't know if it reduces damage to him or not. I always just cut him away from those pillars. I thought he was just okay. The first time you find him was on a bridge, a pretty narrow bridge, but a pretty long bridge, so you can easily cut him away from stuff. It's got a lot of fire attacks and stuff. Overall, I didn't hate it. Infernal Enchantress. I'm not gonna say I won't remember this bitch, because I will, but I think she's just bad. You see so many of her throughout the rest of the game. Once you fight this one, you fight so many of them, and they are just annoying as fuck to deal with. This particular fight, those seeds that I was mentioning with the Hushed Saint, there are certain enemies in certain scenarios where those seeds will actually give invulnerability, or essentially like it'll just boost the health generation of the enemy for each seed that is linked to them. And this boss in particular had 4 seeds linked to her. So you have to run around with your lamp, popping those seeds. Meanwhile, she's fucking lobbing fireballs at you. She's sending out waves of fire at you. And you can't look at her because you're looking for these seeds in your fucking lamp. And like, so you don't know when to dodge and all that stuff. Frustrating as hell. Very poorly designed fight. And you know, when you do get a chance to go in and actually hit her, if she gets a chance, if you're not using a weapon that like staggers her out of her attacks, if she does this big fire supernova thing, that could like really mess you up, and then she teleports away and starts lobbing fireballs again at you. It's so poorly designed. Spurn Progeny. This was a fun and very good designed boss fight, if you ask me. Spurn Progeny is a fire giant golem looking thing. He looks really derpy. You fight him like in the middle of like this courtyard or whatever, and then after so long into the fight, then you're beating his legs and all that stuff because he's tall. So far into the fight, he starts just puking molten lava all over the courtyard. So you have to run up to this pathway and like these tops of these buildings or whatever, where you fight him on these platforms. So you fight him on one platform, you beat him up a little bit. He has a hand that kind of, or an arm that shoots out of his mouth. That was pretty cool. He had this big supernova thing that he would like raise up into the air with the hand from his mouth, and it would, you know, if you weren't line of sighting it, it would do damage to you. And then he would eventually like hit that platform with magma or whatever, and you just work your way around. I thought it was a really cool fight. Very easy to read attacks, but super well animated attacks and really well designed boss arena and stuff. I enjoyed them. I thought it was a fun fight. Skin Stealer follows in the same thing as Ruiner. You fight more of them throughout the game. The boss fight itself was a lot harder than any other ones we come across. This was another fight I tried to parry, and at this point I was in my full heavy era where I was just fucking unga bunga swinging everything at him. But I was trying to parry too many attacks, and it wasn't working because the parry window on the bigger weapons is so small. But as soon as I committed to just dodging, I think it killed. Like I said, you know, I think I even mentioned on stream, I'm trying to parry too much. I'm just fuck it. We go and we dodge, and I think I just killed him that attempt is what happened. So just an okay fight. Really cool animations for his attacks. Really cool. He's kind of out of a smaller area for his boss fight. Really cool animations. He has like a fire. He kind of powers up with fire at one point, which can really mess you up if you get caught. But overall, pretty cool. The Skin Stealer is like like not dumbed down version, but like it's like the Light Reaper light version essentially. He's kind of got a lot of the same move sets as the Light Reaper, but I'm only putting it just okay because there's multiple versions of them throughout the whole game. The Sacred Resonance of Tenacity. This is a bad fight. Fight multiple of these guys throughout the game. It's a guy with a bell on his head. The issue with this one is not only do you have to fight this guy with a bell on his head, but you have to fight, I think, 4 other of like the witch thingies that you are, like the Gold Dawn wannabe like things. They kind of look like mind flayers as well. They got like tentacles coming out of their hoods or whatever. You have to fight 4 of them with this guy in a small area. It's not the best. It's actually very bad, and you fight more of them later on. Any fights that has like a ton of enemies that are swarming you, not good. It's just a bad fight. Grief Bound Rowena. I don't remember this fight. Oh, I randomly found her. She was just off in like some little church thing. Other than that, I don't remember much. So she will not be remembered. That's kind of how that is. She will not be remembered because I don't remember the actual fight. I remember finding her now, but I don't remember actually where like the fight in general. The Hollow Crow. This could have been an S tier fight. This honestly could have been an S tier fight, but it's just meh. The reason why it is meh, the Hollow Crow has an insane model on it. Like the model of the Hollow Crow is absolutely insane, but it has a really cool boss model, the crow itself. However, this fight is another I actually have to put in the bad. I have to put it in bad. It's actually a bad fight. Damn, that sucks. That sucks too, because I want to actually like this fight, but it actually is a bad fight because how this fight works is you don't fight the crow at all. No matter how cool and how sick it looks, you don't fight the crow at all. The crow sits in his nest and just starts crying and sends out all these frost spells at you, but never actually directly attacks you. Instead, you're fighting increasingly hard waves of enemies as whoever he's watching over. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the name of the chick, but her little spirit's going around laughing, having a good time, and you gotta soul flame her out and hit her a few times, and you go like through like 3 phases and the boss fight's over. It's actually very bad because like there's a ton of enemies that come at you. It's not just like 1 or 2. Like the arena's filled with like almost 10 at times because you're just trying to focus on her, and then like if you don't clear out some enemies and then they swarm you and stuff like that, it's what could have been a potentially amazing fight is sadly in bad. Bringer of Stillness, Nullity, and Silence. This is a fight against 3 of these Grim Reaper type dudes. We're gonna put this in meh. These guys will come at you if you're in the Umbral for too long or in certain areas. They're like little Grim Reaper dudes that kind of go into the ground and move around like the Heartless and Kingdom Hearts and Shadow and all that stuff. They pop out and they hit you and shit like that. If you use a big enough weapon, you can hit them off the platform that you're on, which is pretty cool. I do like that. But if you don't kill them quick enough, you can get overwhelmed with 3 of them, which is kind of meh. And in general, it's just reusing enemies that you fought throughout the game, and you will fight more of throughout the game into one fight. But each one is, and the reason why it's meh and not bad, each one is, you know, strong and weak against different things. Where one was getting fucked up by my weapon, I can't remember what weapon I used. The other one was actually resistance to it. So that was pretty cool. Harrower Dervla, the Unbroken Promise. I don't know where to put this, because I think it's just okay. The boss fight itself, the first phase, you fight Harrower Dervla, and the hitboxes on her attacks are fucking weird. Like, I'd be clearly dodging them, and she would somehow get a follow through sometimes and hit me on like a backswing or whatever, which was happening like very inconsistently. And it was just like awkward. The Unbroken Promise, which is the second phase, had some cool attacks, had like a point where like they rip these like spectral nails out of the ground. They would spin them around their body like a helicopter. They would like throw one at you, throw another one at you, like for like a 1-2 punch. I thought that phase was pretty cool. But that first phase, the hitbox that you take, like the hits that you take from it are weird. I didn't really like it. Abiding Defenders. These were the two statues that would come to life and fight you at the same time. One was more of a spellcaster, one was more of a melee person. I'm gonna put them in meh because you do fight them as actual standard enemies later on as well. Overall, I'll put them in just okay actually, because a lot of their the spells that they did were really cool. They had like this thing where they put like the swords on the ground. You can kind of see in the picture here. They put the swords on the ground and then the swords would just start going every which way and kind of go across the battlefield. I thought that was really cool. Some other like ones where like lightning would come down, I think, on you or whatever. Maybe that was just smite popping off, but really cool looking visual fights. And like if you just focus down the spellcaster one, you can just focus on the melee one and it wasn't too hard of a fight once you dodge as well. But you know, not a bad fight. It was just okay. Blessed Carrion Knight Seneschal. Oh, he's the guy who guards the Tower of Penance. Yeah, he's bad. You fight like, I want to say maybe 10 more of these guys in the Tower of Penance. He's got a spear. He like oozes poison. When he dies, he like goes in like a cloud of poison and like he'll try like one last attack of you if you're not paying attention. I will say the poison fog, the poison mist that he emits, some of the best looking poison mist in any game I've ever played. It's very dense. You can't see through it. It's got that right shade of poison green, but overall, I won't remember him as a boss fight. I'll remember him more as the enemies we fought along the way. Tancred Reinhold the Immured. This was a good fight. Tancred himself was like a sword and board paladin, like your standard paladin fight or whatever. He went down pretty easy, but the second phase was really cool where like Tancred is how do I put it? First phase, you fight Tancred. Second phase, you still fight Tancred, but you fight his brother, who's also a part of him. Then it turns into some giant, like, dog wolf monster thingy that dashes around the arena and stuff. I thought it was a really cool fight. I liked it. I thought it was good design, really cool moments going into it and all that stuff. I thought it was pretty well done. Abbess Ursula. She's mad. I'll remember the fight only because of her hat. I remember the fight only because of her hat. But overall, the fight was just okay and meh. She would shoot these Kamehameha beams at you of holy light, or she would do like a sweeping beam thing, and she would also teleport away, which was annoying. But if you got on her ass, she was getting chunked. So there is that. Judge Cleric the Radiant Sentinel, one of the potential last bosses of this game that you could fight. She was towards the end for me, but she wasn't the last boss I fought. I thought this was a really fun fight. 2 phases, one with her like light paladin, like, you know, light as an L-I-G-H-T, a very like stoic soldier, carrying her banner in hand, and she would call in like rings of like light arrows on certain areas. You had to move out of it and stuff. Her attacks were really cool and very well animated. Second phase, Dark Paladin, even cooler, using like this fire and holy together combination. I thought it was she was in black armor, like kind of a black dress. She looked a lot older, you know, you could see like this, like her true nature, like of everything wearing down on her and all that stuff. I thought the second phase looked super cool, really pleasing spell animations, really fun and well-designed fight. Maybe would go to epic if the story was kind of hitting me more, but even then, I don't think any of these bosses truly deserve the epic tier. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Rapturous Huntress of Dusk. She was in the Abbey of Hallowed Sisters. I was doing what I could to do the storylines and the quest lines throughout the game as we were going through, just to kind of see what story I could grasp and all that stuff. Unfortunately, because I did the Iron Wayfarer's stuff, he joined in on the fight, and this fight was just super easy, and it was kind of very meh because he was a part of it. If he wasn't a part of it, this fight could probably be just okay, or maybe even a good design fight, but because he was a part of it and we just kind of staggered her left and right, it's just a meh fight. But she has a thing where she like kind of blocks off areas or kind of closes you in and like fills up the area around you with like holy thorns, and you could roll through it or run through it and take some damage to like get to a bigger area to like have more of an area to work with. But I thought it was a pretty cool setup where, from what I could tell from her attacks and like her spells, they looked really cool. But again, because I fought her with this guy, I can only put her at meh because I didn't really see the full fight, like if fighting her one-on-one. Damaros the Mark, I don't remember. I mean, I remember fighting her, but I don't remember the fight. I remember never encountering her throughout the whole game, and then her just popping up and saying I needed to die outside some fiery door. That's all I remember. Sorry, Damaros. I honestly don't. I couldn't recall any of the attacks that she did. And this is one of like the last bosses I fought too. So that says something. It's not even like you'd think I have more of a recency bias on this, but I just don't. The Iron Wayfarer, it's just a meh fight. This could be a fun or good fight. This really could be. And if it's who I think it is this guy, does he represent the guy we would have played in the first game? Because he looks a lot like the character from the first game. Someone let me know in the comments down below for the YouTube video, because he looks a lot like the guy that we would have played in the first game. Either way, he could have been a good, fun designed fight, but his boss arena was fucking, it was so small sideways, it was so small long ways, and his attacks as you get towards, like, as you progress through the fight, and his fire attacks that would do like bursts of lava or fire from the ground would literally cover your whole screen, so you couldn't see what was happening next because the arena was so small and your camera was so zoomed in on it. It was very easy to read the attacks when you can see them coming. Very, very cool movesets and stuff, and how it progressively gets harder and harder, how his attacks progressively just hit more of an area and hit more of an area as the fight goes on. I liked that, but you just couldn't see it half the time. Next up, we have Adir the Bereft Exile. Can I add a row below? It's gonna be the Adir tier. Match the color, at least it will make this look aesthetically pleasing. Adir the Bereft Exile goes into Adir tier. Throughout the whole game, at least on my first playthrough, because first playthrough they make it out to that Adir bad, Adir bad, Adir is very bad, which he kind of is a bad guy, you know. Really and truly, in the definition of a bad guy, Adir is a bad guy. They're hyping him up to be this terrible person, and I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be an epic final boss fight. You know, we're gonna have to fight him, we're gonna have to finally put him down for good, yada yada yada. Get into the boss fight, same thing as the Hollow Crow. Super cool looking model for Adir, very large and grandiose model for Adir. You don't even swing your weapon at Adir. I didn't even, on my killing attempt, which I died once to this, on the actual attempt where I finished this event, I'm not even gonna call it a boss, where I finished this event, I didn't even swing my sword once. It was all throwing weapons. Because in this, you have all these like zombie human-like things that are just walking around, and they get powered up with Adir's power or whatever. They start throwing fireballs at you and stuff. They have just lava they're spewing on the ground around them, so you can't even get close to swing a weapon on them because you'll just take fire damage. And you have to kill like 20 of them or whatever. So you literally have to use a throwing weapon to kill them. And after you kill so many, the event's done. You don't even fight Adir himself. You literally fight these, if I was able to use a weapon, one-shot enemies, maybe two-shot, but since I had to use a throwing weapon, I was using the throwing axe thing, 3 axes to kill them, sometimes 1. Such a fucking terrible final boss, because I guarantee, unless you're looking at a guide, this will be everyone's first final boss fight in this game. Because again, when you play the game and when you go through, they're like, cleanse the 5 beacons and yada yada yada. So you don't know any better. You're gonna go and you're gonna cleanse the 5 beacons, and once you cleanse 1 beacon, apparently you're locked out of every other ending in the game. So once you cleanse 1 beacon, you're locked into fighting Adir. And Adir is just, who approved this? That's all I gotta say. Who approved this for a boss fight? The final boss fight for, we'll say, 90% of the players' first playthroughs. Like, that's just, it baffles me. Andreas Aveb, it's meh. I thought him and I were homies all throughout the game. He had a good bluff on his face. I thought we were homies. This guy ends up just fucking, he ends up betraying me is the best way I can describe it. Really, really rude, if you ask me, how he betrayed me. He had pretty cool movesets. He was all about poisons and stuff like that, so I thought it was pretty cool. You fight him right after the Light Reaper, and he caught me so off guard, but I just, you know, gamer instincts to just wipe the floor with him. Elaine the Starved. This would have been my S tier boss fight, but I didn't fight Elaine the Starved because I didn't do the Umbral ending. But I watched this fight on YouTube afterwards because I was so pissed off about the Adir ending. I was like, there has to be other endings, and I found out there was 3 other endings. And Elaine the Starved is the final boss fight for the Umbral ending. If you do the Inferno ending, Judge Cleric could be your final boss if you didn't go that way yet, or if you didn't, or if you went through her first and your final boss would be Sundered Monarch, which we'll get to in a minute. But I didn't fight her, so I can't rank her Paladin's Burden. This is an Umbral only fight. I thought it was an okay fight. You go and I can't remember exactly what zone this guy's in, but he's like out on a platform all his own in the Umbral. Very easy to read his attack, but he hits like a fucking truck. I'll put it that way. He can heal himself, so you have to be on your guard and you have to be ready to like rush him down so he doesn't heal himself. But I thought the animations were cool. I thought the moveset was really cool. And once you kill him, you get an item that unlocks a secret path towards the beginning of the game where you can get his armor and his weapon and stuff. So I always think that's pretty cool. I thought he was just okay though. Spirit of the Bleak Season. Oh, I didn't fight this one. I think this was a Halloween event boss. I didn't fight that one. Let's get the other ones out of here. That I didn't fight the rest of these guys either. General Engstrom, I don't know where the fuck you were at, but I didn't fight you. Tortured Prisoner, I didn't fight her. I let her out. I talked to her once, didn't fight her. Kukujin, I let her out. I never summoned her, so I didn't have to pay her any vigor, and I never fought her. The Sundered Monarch, I thought this was a pretty cool fight. You learn about him as you're going through his castle and all that sorts, and how he had to make some tough decisions, and how when he became king, there was a plague already across the region and all that stuff. He's this big guy, and he's crying to a statue of, I believe would be his wife, or at least one of the queens, maybe his mother, when you start the fight. So you start beating on him and all that stuff, and then you quickly get into phase 2 where he just kind of gets pissed off. He makes a weapon out of the hammer, out of the statue. I think he just starts trying to beat you with the head of the statue is what he uses as the weapon. He has like some fire attacks. He has swords coming out of his back, but he has like this attack where fire swords will come down from the sky, and whatever he's swinging, he has like these spikes that come out from his, I think it's his arm, or maybe it's part of the statue, I can't remember off the top of my head, but like these spikes would come down, they would start dark and they would glow bright red, and like right as they hit their brightest part, that's where you would dodge. And I thought that was fun to learn, and I thought it was a good fight. None of these bosses are S tier though. That's all there was in this game too. Lot less bosses in this than there was in Shadow of the Erdtree. This game overall, I mean, I did enjoy it for the most part. A deer left a very sour taste in my mouth, but overall the game was good. I thought the game was good. I thought it was okay. A much different pace from Shadow of the Erdtree. I didn't play this when it first came out. Like I said, I just recently started playing this game and did my playthrough of it. And overall, I enjoyed it. I had to adjust to a slower pace. I had to adjust to like a Dark Souls 1 playstyle where it's very just maybe roll a second time and then get your attacks in, roll, get your attacks in. It was a very much slower pace than I'm used to with the ramping of the recent FromSoft games. So